Declaring an international public health emergency is rare, but with the coronavirus spreading globally, the World Health Organization says it warrants a coordinated international response.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus. The main reason for this declaration is not because of what is happening in China, but because of what is happening in other countries. Our greatest concern is the potential for the virus to spread to countries with weaker health systems and which are ill prepared to deal with it.
Countries like India, one of the latest to report cases of the respiratory disease. Until now, individual nations have made their own decision in response to the outbreak. In Italy, more than 6,000 tourists were under lockdown aboard a cruise ship near Rome after 2 Chinese passengers displayed flu-like symptoms. The couple were put into isolation until their test results came back negative for coronavirus. Meanwhile, evacuations of foreign nationals from Wuhan continue. Turkey sent a military cargo plane to bring back 35 Turkish and 10 Azerbaijani citizens and their families. All, including the crew, will now be put under quarantine for 14 days. The EU is bringing back another 350 Europeans on a flight into Portugal, and 150 British nationals will touch down in the UK on Friday. This as a number of commercial airlines suspended flights to China, a decision the WHO is now asking them to revise.
Why did you take this decision? Why? What is the science supporting this decision? Could you reconsider this decision? And we suggested to WHO that WHO should inform the world about transparency concerning these measures, which should not constitute an example to follow, but a decision to reconsider.
For China, the WHO only had praise for their efforts to contain the virus, but it is still spreading fast. Their message, what will protect us is not fear and aversion, but solidarity and cooperation. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera.
Let's go live now to Scott Heidler. He is in Beijing. Scott, many countries are trying to get their citizens out of Hubei, but China is looking to bring its expats back.
Yes, it's a very interesting move by China. What they're going to do is they're going to dispatch charter aircraft, they haven't said exactly where, to bring those residents, those citizens of China who are residents of these affected areas back into China. Now, it said, it didn't really go into too much detail. It just said because of the difficulties they're facing. So most likely that is because there has been definitely cancellation of all flights into where they're from, Wuhan City or Hubei province in general, but also because other airlines are canceling their flights into China generally, so it's become much more difficult for Chinese citizens who are abroad to come back home. It'll be interesting to see where these charter aircraft actually land. Wuhan Airport is obviously open to charter aircraft only, as we're seeing those evacuations from the growing list of nations who are taking their citizens out of Wuhan. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with these Chinese citizens. Are they going to fly them straight back into Wuhan, who are from there, or is it going to land in a different city and then they'll take them down by special bus? We're not sure yet. And obviously, they'll have to make some decisions about where they keep them and if they do actually go into the affected area. So it's an interesting move by China. The one thing that they announced over the last couple of days is they're also going to dispatch charter aircraft into Wuhan, or in the Hubei province area, affected area, to bring people, Chinese citizens who aren't from there, who are tourists stuck in there. Obviously, they're going to test them. Then they'll bring them out, and so they have the opportunity to go back to their homes in other places in China. So the Chinese government trying to work for their citizens as well, as we're seeing this airlift out of Wuhan for foreign citizens.
And Scott, the numbers of infections continues to grow. What's the latest in terms of containment efforts?
Right now, I couldn't really hear you too well there, Kim. The situation right now with the latest numbers, obviously we're seeing these numbers increase every day those who have been affected, infected by this virus, and the death numbers. What we're seeing, as a response from the Chinese government, they are, there are 2 hospitals that are being built right now in Wuhan to deal with the growing number of patients down there. One is supposed to open in just a few days. On Monday, they're saying that's when it's going to open up. Now, it's very difficult to know, how quickly they're going to be able to start to accept patients. They say that this first hospital is going to have about 1,000 beds. A few days later, maybe at the end of next week, a second hospital, purpose-built hospital around the Wuhan area to take in more patients. There's also a hospital, grounds for a hospital just outside Beijing here that was used back 17 years ago, 2003, during the SARS crisis. That is being rebuilt, if you will, so they can have more beds for specifically the coronavirus infected. So that should be coming in the next couple of weeks, they expect. So right now, that's the Chinese government move to deal with the current situation. We know that there is a shortage of medical supplies down in Wuhan, and that's something the government's trying to deal with. Other supplies, we've been speaking to people in Wuhan, other supplies, food and water, that's okay. Right now, the focus is on those medical supplies.
Thank you for that. That's Scott Heidler there live from Beijing.